passionate, driven, enthusiastic, euphoric. This is who we are as entrepreneurs. But how we leverage these incredible attributes to dream and build businesses that scale and grow is what this podcast is all about. Hello, I'm attorneypreneur Josh Brown, and welcome to Franchise Euphoria. Creating systems that actually work. That is the topic of today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Franchise Euphoria. Josh Brown here, and excited to be back for another weekly episode. And today we're going to dive right in to how do you create systems for your business that actually work? Well, as you can tell from the title, today's episode is really going to be helpful, I believe, to entrepreneurs who are just getting started and want to create franchise-like systems for their business, along with entrepreneurs who maybe have already started but are looking to grow their business through a franchise-like model. You cannot do so without creating systems that actually work. You know, I often talk to people about the franchise process, spend a lot of time talking with entrepreneurs and helping them work through whether or not they want to expand with an actual franchise model or just with a franchise-like model. As we all know, having systems in your business not only makes you more efficient, but ultimately makes you more profitable and forces you as an entrepreneur to really hone in on the core competencies of your business. And when you are crystal clear about your core competencies, you are in the best position possible to capitalize on those competencies and make as much profit as you possibly can for that particular business. So, how do you create systems that actually work for your business? Well, obviously, it's easy to talk about it. It's another thing to actually do it. But one of the things I want to focus on today are 5 key questions that you should be asking yourself as an entrepreneur, that as you answer these, it will help you figure out if you are on the right track to creating systems that actually work and will in fact help you along that road. So the first question is, what is your business? I mean, what is it that you do? You need to be able to describe to somebody who asks you off the street, at a cocktail party, whatever the case may be, what is it that you actually do? And part of understanding that is getting crystal clear on what it is you don't do. You know, so often when we converse with one another, you know, a great way to convey what you do is through telling somebody what you don't do. You know, I mean, with myself, with my law practice, you know, as they know that I do franchise law and I work with entrepreneurs. Well, I'm not the person who's going to deal with a criminal matter. And I'm not going to be dealing with a whole lot of other legal issues because I've chosen a particular focus so that it's easy to identify what it is that I do. And a lot of businesses, they don't have that because maybe they're more generalized. Well, the more generalized you are, the more important it's going to be to get crystal clear on what it is you actually don't do so that you can focus the customer or the potential customer in on what it is that you do. Because if you do a whole host of different things, I mean, it's not going to resonate with somebody when you start listing off all they care about is how you can help them. So one of the things that's going to help you really create systems that actually work for your business is if you get crystal clear on what your business actually is. Number 2, what's your benefit? And that may sound like a strange question, but every single person that asks, tell me about your business, or that says, oh, what is it that you're doing? What they're really asking is this person I'm talking to, can they benefit me in any way? That's all they're really asking. You know, they're doing it with a social norm that is, oh, so tell me about yourself. Tell me about your business. All they really care about is if you can help them in some form or fashion, whether you can help them with a direct need that they have, or maybe they have a a business that they're looking to see if you're a good fit for. But the idea is, what is your benefit? So as you're continuing to build your business or start your business, you really need to think about that aspect first. You need to put yourself in your customer's shoes and say, at the end of the day, whether I'm selling a widget, whether I'm selling a service, whether I'm selling both, what is it that is the ultimate benefit to my end client, to my end customer? Because that's going to be what you need to lead with. That's going to be the most important thing. And it's going to help you frame your business in a way so that you can create a system that actually leads to the benefit that you hope to achieve. Number 3, what is your value? So value can be discussed in many ways. Okay. So, there's your own value of what you believe your services are worth. There's the value of what your clients believe the services are worth. And then there's an overall value to the entire relationship. Because in order for it to be a good situation for you and your customer, there needs to be a win-win component to it. So in other words, if your potential client values your services a lot lower than you do, you're never going to be profitable. You're never going to be happy just dropping your prices down to that value. You have to get to that comfortable level and really think ahead of time as to what your value proposition is for the business that you're doing. What's the value of the service? What's the value of the product? Now, that's closely related to what the end benefit is, but it ties into the monetary component of it, that at the end of the day, you're asking somebody to exchange their money for something that they need to value at the same level that you do. Now, what you hope ultimately for is that the value that you provide through your service or through your product well exceeds the value that your customer thinks in their own head. Now, that's a great transaction. When somebody believes they spent less than they actually would have, boy, that's a great value proposition, especially if it's profitable for you at that margin. So you really need to understand and to think about what it is your value is and make sure that that's aligned with your customer's value. When you do that, you're able to create a system that can actually be profitable. Because if you're creating a system based off of 2 mismatched value systems, you're going to have a really difficult time being profitable. Number 4, you need to ask yourself, who is your client and customer? Who is this target market that you're trying to reach? I mean, I know we hear this over and over again. Who's your avatar? You need to know their thoughts, their feelings. You need to get inside their head. You do. You need to understand your client and customer. Now, part of that is, as an entrepreneur, the best and most successful ones have a deep-seating care for what they're doing. They have a desire to really not only make money and do the best that they can, but they really want to do well by their customers. Well, the only way you can truly do well by your customers and your clients is to really understand them. You need to understand their perspectives. You need to understand what they like to do. You need to understand in a crystal clear fashion why they're coming to you, why they care to hire you, what their pain points are, what their needs are, what they enjoy to do, what they don't enjoy to do. I mean, you really need to do a deep dive into your customer target market and really have a crystal clear idea of what they do. That is, when you do that, that is perhaps the most important thing that you can do so that you can create a system that actually works. I mean, I've seen it time and time again. And even in my own business, I mean, when you try to set up a system for maybe it's a package that you're offering, or maybe it's a product, or some other kinds of service, you really have it. Once you understand where your customer's coming from, boy, is it a lot easier to make that package worthwhile, to make sure that you have that value add in that package. So get a crystal clear idea of who your client is, who your customer is, and it will be much easier for you to create a system that actually works. Number 5, and this is sort of it's sort of an interesting question. You should be asking yourself, if your business did not exist, would you be missed? And I think so often people have a self-inflated assessment of really how much value they bring to the table. And I can't remember where I heard it, but somebody a lot smarter than me said this and said, if your business did not exist, would you be missed? Now, isn't that the ultimate test? Isn't that the ultimate question? I mean, isn't that the ultimate way to really figure out if you have a differentiating point of value? You know, if you close your doors tomorrow or you were gone tomorrow, would your clients just move on to the next person, to the next business? Or would they long for what you bring to the table? Would they long for that experience? Would they long for that service, for that product? I mean, what is it about you that would make you be missed? Many of you may not have an answer to that, but you need to find one. If you don't have a reason to be missed, you're gonna fall into the category eventually, if you're not already there, of a commodity. And what do we know about commodities? We know that prices are driven down through commodity type services and products. So you do not want to be in that category. If you don't have it right now, you need to really take time, think about, talk with people about what is it that is special about what you do that you would be missed. If you figure that out, boy, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to create a system for your business that actually works. So let me just do a quick recap here. Ask yourself, what is your business? What is your benefit? What is your value proposition? Who is your actual client, customer, target market? And finally, if your business did not exist, would you be missed? Anyways, that's some food for thought on this episode of Franchise Euphoria. Coming up on, Thursday of this week, I have a great new fresh interview with the CEO of a franchise that's growing, that's interesting, that I think you'll find a real interesting conversation. So please tune in on Thursday of this week for a brand new interview episode, as I'm starting once again to mix in interviews with my quick episodes like this, or my quick tips. So hopefully you will enjoy that. And as always, feel free to reach out to me at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. And I hope you're just enjoying this great day. And we'll talk to you on Thursday.
Thanks for being with us today on the Franchise Euphoria podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go to iTunes and provide a review. Also, please remember that although Josh Brown is a licensed and practicing attorney, nothing contained in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, because it is not. The information contained in this podcast is general and educational in nature, and none of it should be relied upon as legal advice. That being said, if you have questions for Josh and would like to contact him, please email him at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next weekly episode.